Ladies and gentlemen, happy Saturday to everyone. And we are back here for another special episode here from Transformation Greatness, along with SBN, the Small Business Network podcast. I am your host here, Sean A. White. And you know what? We have another great episode in store. This is someone here, this young lady, in which I'm about to bring to the stage, is someone in which that if you know me, I love to connect and network. And I found her as far as on social media, preferably Facebook. Now, what struck me was that not only when she said that she was into spoken word, which by the way, I'm a huge fan of, if you know me, but also too, she was hosting an open mic event, and so that really intrigued me. And just listening to her live stream, I was just like, wow, this is a person that I definitely wanted to meet. And then afterwards, once that we connected and just hearing her story, and from something in which started with just a dream and a vision, now she'd be able to expanded, it was like, wow, hey, listen, I would love to interview you and have an opportunity for our listener audience to get to know you. So here we are, guys, and I'm so happy just to introduce you to my special guest. But before we do me a favor, if you will. If you catch this on the live, put it on hashtag live. Let us all know where you're tuning in from. And if you should happen to catch this on a replay, go ahead and put in hashtag replay. So with no further ado, guys, it's not about me. We got all that out the way. I want to invite my very special guest, hailing all the way from up top, and I believe it's in Brunswick, New Jersey. Jersey, stand up now. Come on now. We have the one and only here, Miss Tanisha Jacob. Welcome to the show, madam.
Hello, thank you, thank you. Actually, I live in Highland Park, but New Brunswick's not that far. I did
I
live in New Brunswick.
then my apologies. In
That's
Highland
okay.
Park, New Jersey.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So, Tanisha, for the listener audience, if you can just briefly tell them who you are and a little bit as far as on what you do, and let's jump into this thing.
Okay, well, hello everybody out there. My name is Tanisha. I'm a poet. I go by the name Ms. Keir, capital K, capital I, capital R, the poetic lyricist, and that stands for keeping it real because most of my poems are about real life. A lot of them are about my life, and sometimes real life situations. I see through the eyes of other people, so I can write from their experiences, things that they've gone through. I also write through the things I've gone through, some of my experiences. And I've been writing poetry for a while. I started writing more so in my adult years, but I did write when I was a teenager. I was going through some things in my adult years, and so poetry became my outlet to get out my frustrations and angers and the things that I was going through. It's very therapeutic for me. I also do coloring as well, but mostly I really truly enjoy poetry. I love the stage. I used to have stage fright. Bad. But now I love the stage and it's just all good. I started the Writer's Block Poetry Collective in January of 2009 through my mentor, Miss Deborah Cheney. I was a member of the Precious Promise Art Circle from 2003 until the start of the Writer's Block in 2009. Deborah passed the torch on to me, and it's really has been some big shoes to fill because she could have asked anyone in the Precious Promise Art Circle group, but she came to me and asked me if I could take over doing the open mics because I was only doing it once a year in the park. So she asked me if I could take over, and so I accepted, and I've been doing the Writer's Block Poetry Collective ever since. Um, the Writer's Block Poetry Collective is Creative Artistic Poets Speaking. The name came from my late friend, Isis Originale, and I just added the Poetry Collective to the remaining of it. And Creative Artistic Poet Speaking was the slogan given to me by another fellow Precious Promise Art Circle member, Cynthia Blue. So that was the start of the writer's block. When we started, it was really cold, really, really, really cold. I started in New Brunswick, New Jersey, at the New Brunswick Public Library. And if anybody knows about the New Brunswick Public Library, they have many, many events. And they have also a little area called the Henry Guest House. And that was where my first open mic took place. And it was really, really cold. And I wanted to go home. It's also been known to be very creepy in there because it's a really old building. And I waited and waited for quite some time for people to come in. People started coming in. I'm like, okay, good. And then I was the sacrificial lamb and started off the open mic. And then I said, okay. And then I started waiting for other people to come up and they were just looking at me. And I'm like, okay. So then I did another poem. And then I said, okay, anybody would like to come to the stage? And they're still looking at me. And I'm like, okay. So I did several poems and I'm thinking to myself, oh God, please, can someone else come to the stage because this is not Ms. Keir's show. This is an open mic. So I did some more poems and then finally someone came to the stage and I'm like, oh, thank God. And then from then on, it was the open mic went very smoothly, but it got off to a very, very slow start. I've also hosted open mics at the New Brunswick Teen Center and the former Namaste Cafe. And I've also hosted open mics at the Reformed Church in Highland Park. I partnered with them a few years back when they had a program called The Table. And The Table was pretty much uh, something where it fed the needs of the displaced and the homeless. And so then the writer's block, we partnered with them. And so that's pretty much my story.
Wow. No, I wouldn't say that's pretty much your story. There's a whole lot more to that that meets the eye,
Oh,
and we must uncover and unlock because what I was hearing is like just the passion of it. But something else in which that you said, and I wanted to ask you about that, and it's sound like you stated
mhm.
with spoken word, it gives a person a freedom of expression because you were at a place where I believe you say you was either frustrated or angry. So it gives people like an avenue to really express themselves.
Mhm.
What do you
Yeah.
mean by that? Can you go more in detail about that? Because that's fantastic. So I want us to go ahead and explore that if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, I was going through some things, a lot of things, and it was just really frustrating. The things that I was going through. People, they say people, places, and things, and so poetry became my outlet to get all my frustration and anger out without having to attack people physically, because sometimes, people they can make you want to just to the throat. And I didn't want to do that. I like my freedom. I don't want to be locked up. And so poetry, that became my outlet, as my departed friend used to say, safer on paper. So I would just write down my thoughts and it felt really good. And I just went from there.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Now it looks like here that we have two individuals. We have Asada and it looks like we have Cynthia in the background. So I don't know if they want to come on, but are you familiar with those two individuals?
Yes,
Asada
I
and
am.
Cynthia?
Cynthia is part of the writer's block, and Asada is my childhood friend. I've known her for over 30 years.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Then shout out to Asada and also Cynthia as well. If the ladies would like to come on board, hey, the more the merrier as far as on this interview. I mean, but it's totally up to you. If not, then hey, the stage is all yours, man. Then I'll take
Um,
that. Yeah, you let me know.
uh,
Well, we can
I
keep on rolling, and they can be in the listening audience. It's cool.
we could keep on rolling. I don't think Assad and Sadet. I mean Sadet. That's her sister. I don't think Assad and Cynthia want to come front
Cool
and
beans.
center. Do you guys? I don't know.
Cool beans. Cool beans. Then okay. Well, I will allow for them to go ahead and comment, and if so, great. If not, pretty cool. I think Asada. I think she was shook her head and said no. I think. I think, but it's all good. In any rate, you did mention now that you do have some poems that you would like to share. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, I do. Quite a
Ooh,
few.
ooh, wait. So, with no further ado, I'm going to put the spotlight back on you, and I'm going to respond to these comments, and you can take her away.
Okay, I would like to first open up with a Nikki Giovanni poem. She is a phenomenal poet. Love her. And I love this poem, and I wanted to open up with this poem. And this is called Ego Tripping by the iconic, great poet Nikki Giovanni. I was born in the Congo. I walked to the Fertile Crescent and built the Sphinx. I designed a pyramid so tough that a star that only glows every 100 years falls into the center, giving divine perfect light. I am bad. I sat on the throne, drinking nectar with Allah. I got hot and sent an ice age to Europe to cool my thirst. My oldest daughter is Nefertiti. The tears from my birth pains created the Nile. I am a beautiful woman. I gazed on the forest and burned out the Sahara Desert with a packet of goat's meat and a change of clothes. I crossed it in 2 hours. I am a gazelle, so swift, you can't catch me. For a birthday present when he was 3, I gave my son Hannibal an elephant. He gave me Rome for Mother's Day. My strength flows ever on. My son Noah built Newark, and I stood proudly at the helm as we sailed on a summer day. I turned myself into myself and was Jesus. Men atone my loving name. All praises, all praises. I am the one who would save. I sowed diamonds in my backyard. My bowels delivered uranium. The fillings from my fingernails are semi precious jewels. On a trip north, I caught a cold and blew my nose, giving oil to the Arab world. I am so hip, even my errors are correct. I sailed west to reach east and had to round off the earth. As I went, the hair from my head thinned and gold was laid across 3 continents. I am so perfect, so divine, so ethereal, so surreal. I cannot be comprehended except by my permission. I mean, I can fly like a bird in the sky. And that was Ego Tripping by Nikki Giovanni. I love that poem.
I love it too so much. But what I even love even more so is like when you was reciting that, you was doing it with such attitude. I mean, you had the head bopping, you had it snapping, and you was like into it. And I was like, come on now, somebody. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, just that level of passion. So I love it. I love it. Great job, by the way. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Indeed. Indeed. And but guess what, folks? That's the first of many. So we're going to move on into the second one. But before we do, for all those that are tuning in, welcome, welcome, welcome here to Transformation Greatness along with SBN, the Small Business Network podcast. And we have here our very special guest here, spoken word enthusiast and a woman of many different talents, the one and only Tanisha Jacob. And as you see, folks, it is the lower vibration come into play because now I'm snapping my neck and I'm even snapping my fingers, and I'm telling you, you gotta have some sass here, right? When you're reciting spoken word, you gotta feel it, right, Tanisha?
Yes, absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely.
feel
Yes, indeed.
it.
Indeed.
Indeed, indeed. So you mentioned that you had some more. So
Yes.
what's the second poem you would like to entertain us with?
Okay, the second one is called What If I Were Harriet? And the inspiration from that was from a Lucille Clifton poem called Harriet. And so when I read hers, I was like, oh, wow, let me see if I can put a spin on it. So I got inspired and I wrote my rendition of If I Were Harriet. That's the title of my poem, inspired by Lucille Clifton's poem, Harriet.
Excellent. So in a few moments, I'm going to allow for you to take her away. You got it.
Okay, again, my name is Tanisha, poetically known as Ms. Kier, the poetic lyricist, capital K-I-R, keeping it real. And this poem is an original poem written by me, inspired by a poem by Lucille Clifton entitled Harriet. And this is my poem entitled What If I Were Harriet? If I were Harriet, would I have freed over 300 slaves? I don't know if I could have been that brave, or maybe if I were Isabel, could I have sojourner truths? 'Cause I'm a woman too. And if I were my grandmother, would I have birthed 7 children upon this earth? I trust the creator of the universe. I love my children, and we will wait. And that was my original poem, What If I Were Harriet, written by me, Ms. Keir, inspired by Lucille Clifton's poem, Harriet.
I like it. I like it. Listen, I can, as I mentioned before, listen, when it comes to spoken word, man, I can listen to it all day. And like one of my, I would say dream scenarios would be as far as like after a day of just networking and creating impact and value, just to be able to go somewhere, either like to a spoken word event. It can be in the library, it can be in a Starbucks, wherever, and just sit back and just have like a nice cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and just be able to sit back and enjoy the ambiance, and really just be able to listen and just listen, to just men and women that's doing spoken word and really just showing you their gifts and talents. And it's just something, it's something, the best way I can describe it for me, it's very invigorating and dependent upon of the person. You can even feel your ancestors coming through, right? Really speaking with
Yeah,
you. So there is a spiritual I guess awakening or spiritual connection to that. And that's part of the reason why I love spoken word. And it really gives you that ability, just like you mentioned, when you may have so much going on as far as in your life, the best thing you can do is put it down on paper and really be able to convey that. And there are some individuals, they may not know exactly on what to say, but when they put it down on paper and then recite it, it speaks volumes. And
yeah,
I like that. Awesome. Do you,
yeah.
do you have another one?
Yes, I do.
Come on now, come with it.
All right. This is my signature poem. This is called The Jazz Procession. This poem was inspired. I was when my mom was living in Washington, D.C. some years ago, and this poem just came to me. And so I entitled it The Jazz Procession, an original poem by me.
All right, so let me go ahead and give you the floor one more time, and I'll let you take it away.
Okay, this is The Jazz Procession, an original poem by me, Miss Kier. I like to call it my signature poem, and it goes like this. Those trumpets were blowing, music was flowing, reminiscent of the days of Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, and all those jazz greats. had a vision of Ellington and his band, Ellington was not a street. Dizzy Gillespie spoke to me through the trumpets. The sounds were melodic and hypnotic. As they walked down the street, I joined in the procession. I asked the member in the band where they were going, told me to a land that's free, told me they were going to the real home of the brave before we were slaves. That jazz band played and played up the block and down the street. As they played, they made the music come alive as cars rolled by, tuning their horns to the vibe. That jazz band was thriving, taught me a lesson about the music of the history of the players within. It was a history session. As I joined that jazz procession, dancing and returning to my roots, as I joined that jazz procession that was moving steadily down the street. And that was The Jazz Procession, an original poem written by me, Ms. Keir.
Woo, ladies and gentlemen, give it up, give it up, give it up. That was fantastic. I want to see some hearts. If you're in the listening audience and if that really resonated with you, I want to see some hearts. I want to see some flames. I want to see some comments. Let me know as far as if that was good for you as it was for me. And also And also, too, guys, if you find this to be very inspiring, because I'm just loving this, by all means, please feel free to go ahead and like and share this out, on your social media handles. Let your friends know about it, your coworkers know about it, whoever, right? Because this is just solid, solid stuff. Like, wow. Wow. Cassandra S. Pickett here, aka Professor Pickett, one of my partners here from SBN, the Small Business Network. She commented talented. Indeed, a
Thank
thousand
you.
percent. A thousand percent, 1,000%. So with that being said, let me go ahead and transition to this. So Tanisha, what is the next steps as far as for your club and your brand? What is the mission that you are looking to achieve with this such amazing talent?
Well, I'm looking to expand and go more places and perform my poetry, as well as bring the members of the Writers Block Poetry Collective along with me to also perform their poems as well, their thoughts and their
In,
goals.
indeed, indeed. Why do you feel like spoken word and you probably alluded to this earlier, and I do apologize, but for those, and I want to ask you this question because part of my platform, I love to give individuals the opportunity to not only share their message, but also be able to inspire, our next generation, and even those that may be at a place where they don't know their purpose. They don't know as far as on what they want to do, or that they are trying to do a thing, but yet they're allowing for life, or they're allowing as far as for their family or their loved ones to pretty much that deny them or tell them that what they want to do is unrealistic. I would like for you to share the story, and now that I think about it, I would like for you to share the story, if you will, Tanisha, or when you first started out. Remember that conversation that we had? And you
Yes.
told me of so much adversity you wanted to. I'm going to give you back the stage, and I really want you to, if you possible, repeat it verbatim and take your time because, guys, you got to hear this story. You want to talk about perseverance, you want to talk about not giving up. Wait until you hear Tanisha's story. The floor is yours, man.
Okay, so my mentor, Deborah Cheney of the Precious Promise Art Circle, she came to me and asked me if I would like to take over with doing the open mics. She could have asked anybody, but she chose to ask me. Big shoes to fill, but I accepted. And I wanted like to take the time out to give her a shout out, even though she's not on social media, Because if it wasn't for her, there would be no Writer's Block Poetry Collective, and I would just be doing my open mics once a year in the park. Anyway, so as I was putting together the Writer's Block, my departed friend Isis Original helped me to get the name, the Writer's Block. And as I stated before earlier, I just added the Poetry Collective, and Cynthia Blue gave the slogan for Creative Artistic Poets Speaking. So we had our first open mic January 2009. And before that, I was having problems like trying to accommodate people because I kept trying to get like a date to do the open mic. And there were people saying, oh, I can't come this day. I can't come that day. So I kept changing the dates, trying to accommodate people. And I've learned that you just can't accommodate everybody. So finally, I came with the date, January 21st of 2009, excuse me. And it was in New Brunswick. Um, I was trying to do it in the meeting room at the New Brunswick Library, but what happened was we ended up getting put into the Henry Guest House. And like I said, if anybody is familiar with New Brunswick and with the Henry Guest House, it's really cold and it's an old building, and people have said it's very creepy. So it was a very, very, very cold day in January. I wanted to go home. My daughter at the time was 9 years old, and I wanted to go home. It was cold. I didn't want to be out, but I said, okay, I've already got the flyers out. My daughter and I, we were passing out flyers, and I put the ad in the newspaper for the open mic. So it was a lot of work putting in for promoting this open mic. So I'm like, okay. So we were there in the guest house, freezing cold outside, cold inside of there, waiting for people to arrive. And it was a few minutes before people started to arrive. When they finally did, I opened up because I realized now, after many years, I have to be the sacrificial lamb, so to speak. So I opened up with a poem, and I said, okay, anybody else like to come share their poem? And it was just audience support. Everybody was looking at me, and I'm like, okay. So then I did another poem, and then after completing that poem, I said, okay, would anybody else like to come to the stage? And nobody said anything. It was like crickets. It was quiet. Everyone was looking at me again, and I'm like, okay. So I did another poem. And as I'm doing my poem, I'm thinking to myself and I'm praying. I'm like, oh God, please, can somebody, anybody, Jodeci, come to the stage, please? Because this is not the Tanisha show. This is an open mic. I'm like, please, somebody else. So once I finished my poem, then someone else finally decided to come to the stage. So I'm like, yay. So then after that, then there was other people who came to the stage after that. And so then the night ended out well, but it got off to a very, very slow start. A very slow start. And then as the months progressed of me doing the open mics, especially at Namaste Cafe, um, when I would do the open mics there, there were times when it would just be like standing room only, and I was like, wow, like people are coming out, and it was like really good. And so that was my journey with the open mics, because it got off to a slow start, but then I started getting a lot of support, and people would come out, and I've met quite a few great poets and performers along this open mic journey. So I just want to say to anybody who might be a closet poet, that's what I call it. Um, okay, I know what that is.
Wow. 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 You,
Um,
you know what? Definitely thank you for sharing that. And say that again.
oh my goodness. Okay, sorry about that.
Oh,
Um,
go ahead.
That was my alarm. I don't know why that went off. But
It's all good.
anyway, that was my journey, and I just want to say, if anybody, you can do it. I used to have stage fright, but I love the stage now, and I love poetry, and it's all good for me now.
Wow. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in or if you're catching a replay here, we're actually live, by the way, with Transformation Greatness and SBN, the Small Business Network podcast. This is episode 275, and we have here the amazing Tanisha Jacob. And thank you so much for that. And I'm glad that you shared that because you may have individuals, again, like I prefaced before, that want to be an entrepreneur or want to do something in which that they're passionate about, but yet they don't want to go through the bumps and bruises, right? They don't want to go through maybe the adversities. They just want it easy. And based on what you shared with us, your journey wasn't easy to say the least. And many times you could have just gave up and quit and said, well, no one's coming out. It's too cold. I don't think no one is interested. But yet you stood the course. And because it was your passion, it's because of something that you really enjoy and you truly embody that is the reason why that you're still doing this, and that is amazing. And I thank you for that. Anything else that you want like to share or build on that? Because again, I want it to be for individuals that listen to this that can become inspired, by this.
Um, I just want to say, if you love to write, do it. Go to the store, get you a composition book, write your thoughts. Don't be afraid to get on the stage if there's an open mic to perform. Just do your thing.
Do you have any tips or suggestions for someone that may say that, I'm afraid on being on camera or I'm afraid of speaking to people and I have stage fright? Do you have any tips or suggestions for them?
Oh, I used to have stage fright. I used to have major stage fright. It would be to the point where I would literally start sweating, like my whole body would start sweating. And I want to thank Mr. Robert Mason. Um, some years ago, I was in this program and we had to stand up and introduce ourselves. And I was so nervous. Like I was speaking so quickly. No one understood a word I said. And I sat down and they were looking at me like, what? Because they didn't hear or understand anything I said. I just was trying to just hurry up, say what I needed to say, and sit down. So what he did was he told me every day I had to read something out of the newspaper. And I was like, I don't want to stand in front of nobody reading no newspaper. So I said, well, I let him know that I wrote poetry. So I said, well, can I read my poems? So he said, sure. So that's what I did every day, Monday through Friday. I would stand in front of them and read my poems. And each day it got less stressful for me. And I didn't have that much stage fright anymore. And I was like, oh, wait a minute now. Because then people started clapping. And I'm like, wait, they're clapping for me? Me? I'm like, okay, there must be something to this. So, gradually each day, I got the hang of it, and now I don't have stage fright at all. I just love the stage. I'm like, okay, what stage can I be on now? And that's pretty much it. Just you got to overcome. If you have stage fright, you overcome it. Um, and for me, the poetry was my way to overcome my stage fright because now I can be on stage and not be sweating profusely, as if I'm having a hot flash, and people can understand what it is I'm saying because I'm not speaking so quickly because I'm not in a hurry to sit down anymore. I'm, ready to share my words, and my inspirations and things via the stage. So it's all good for me now. And so basically, that's the advice I can give to others. Overcome your stage fright, and once you do that, it's all good.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. 1,000%. Tanisha, how can others get a hold of you?
Um, I'm on TikTok, Ms. Kier 74. On Instagram, Ms. Kier 74 also. On Facebook, uh, it's the Writer's Block Poetry Collective. You can like and follow that. And also, I have a group called Tanisha, aka Miss Kier, the Poetic Lyricist group on Facebook. So you can join that as well. If you like and follow the Writer's Block Poetry Collective on Facebook, you can see when the Writer's Block might be doing some events or when I'm going to be doing my online poetry, because I've been doing that for the last 4 years at the start of the pandemic. So each month I do my what I call my monthly poetic lives, which started out weekly, but then I was like, okay, that's a bit much. So now it's just once a month I do my live. So you can check that out. I usually post that on the Writer's Block Poetry Collective page or Tanisha, aka Miss Kier, the Poetic Lyricist page on Facebook.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, definitely make sure that you follow Miss Jacob. I'm telling you, you will have the same type of vibe that I got when you would catch actually her doing her live stream and listening as far as to her poetry. As you can tell, if you've been with us on here for about 37 minutes, you can tell when she recites the poems, there's a lot of positive energy. There's that fierceness, right? There's even at certain points where she was reciting one poem that she even had the neck snapped and everything with the attitude, and that was awesome. And I was like, "Come on, somebody!" And I started snapping my neck and snapping my fingers and boogieing to the beat. But it's more so, but it's more so it she comes across as being very passionate. She loves as far as on what she does. So do me a favor, guys. Follow her on all her social media handles. Tanisha, if you can make sure once this is over, go back into the comment section. Make sure you leave all your social media handles on how people can get a hold of you, because I'm pretty certain here, based upon with the audience, I do know we have some folks in here that love spoken word and poetry. So don't be surprised if they want to connect with you and even collaborate with you. Okay.
Cool. I'm available for bookings,
There
weddings,
you
anniversaries, birthdays, bat mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs.
There you go, guys. There you go. So also too, before I get into the announcements real quick, because we're almost done here. Hey, if you guys enjoyed this segment, if you felt that you got a lot of value, insight and wisdom, by all means, if you would like, please feel free to leave us like a donation. It can be $1, it can be $5, it can be $1 million, right? But by all means, if you're led to that, by all means, we would definitely would appreciate that, and I would even drop in my Cash App handle on there. So with that being said, guys, I just want to do a couple of announcements. Number one, I'm so excited about this. I'm doing a free workshop as far as in my area and respective areas here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm going to be featuring and teaching as far as on advertising, marketing, promoting, and even podcasting as well. It's a free workshop. It's going to be next month, August 24th. It's going to be in a location in which I will be informing everyone when that happens. And so the cool thing is that if you can make it out, by all means, anyone that attends, they're going to receive a $50 restaurant gift card, courtesy on Transformation Greatness and SBN, the Small Business Network. If you cannot make it to that free workshop in person, no worries. I'm going to be doing a virtual workshop in the next couple of weeks. So If you can make it to either or, that would be fantastic. And the second thing as well here is that, hey, we're more than just doing podcasts here. So we love to offer individuals an opportunity to be on TV and radio. If that's something that always intrigues you, by all means, hey, we love to have a conversation with you about that as well. Now, obviously, TV and radio does cost, but we do have different price points and packages, if you will, that I'm pretty sure can suit anyone's budgets and also their needs as well. So that's very important. So if you're interested in that, we can have a conversation afterwards. Until then, family, this has been amazing. This has been a great episode, 275. I want to thank my very special guest, Tanisha Jacob, as well. You did a fantastic job. I wish you
Thank
had
you.
more poems, but if you do,
I do have
then
more poems.
oh, cool. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and say that for part two then.
Okay.
Say that
Sounds
for
good.
part. Let's say that for part two. Let's go ahead and dig into that. I want to thank also Miss Asada. She has definitely been commenting, showing a lot of love and support. So thank you for that. And also Cynthia as well. We appreciate you, ladies, so much.
Thank you, Cynthia and Not.
Thank you, Cynthia, and we appreciate you. So until then, I'm gonna end this segment and like how I do with all my other ones. And if what we stated on here either motivated, transformed, or inspired at least one person, then may God be the glory, and we take no credit for absolutely none of it. Until then, we thank you so much for your time. By His grace and mercy, look forward to seeing you all on the next podcast, which is going to be tomorrow with my very special guest here, Miss Karen So Gal Forever, I believe. That's going to be fantastic. Stay tuned for that. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be blessed.